So, um, hey everyone, Justin Crumley here with the Cujo Productions channel. Welcome to to this video. Let's just get right into it. I'm sure we've all heard the news by now. Um, Stan Lee has passed away at the age of 95, and I mean, yeah, it he was 95 and he had a lot of health issues, but still I kind of debated on making this video because I never I never met Stan Lee personally, so I don't have any like stories to share of meeting him or anything like that. And uh, but at the same time, to say that Stan Lee has inspired me throughout my life and continues to do so is an understatement. It's You guys know that I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and you know, I don't know if I've ever gone into much detail about like my life, but when I was growing up, I was always somewhat of an outcast. I had friends. I had a very small group of friends, but I was never one of the popular kids, and I was but I was a huge Spider-Man fan, and I could just relate to Peter Parker on so many levels. So, but my point is, without Stan Lee, Spider-Man would never have existed. Also, on while on the subject of Spider-Man and Stan Lee, I remember taking a screenshot of a tweet that Stan Lee had shot off, and I'm gonna read it out loud as soon as I find it. It says, "Never give up on your dreams. When I first wrote Spider-Man, my publisher said I was crazy because people hate spiders and insects, and he was not going to publish it. But I never gave up until it was published." That's incredible. That's insane. And I didn't know this for the longest time. Uh, I knew that Fantastic Four was like the first thing that he created that like kicked off Marvel as we know it today. I knew that. I also knew that he was like incredibly burnt out on comics. Like he almost quit. He was about to quit, and his wife told him to do a book and do it the way he wanted. So she inspired him to do the Fantastic Four, and from there on, he just took off and created an entire universe that to this day is part of our culture still. It's huge. And especially now more than ever, comic book films are huge. And Stan Lee is a huge part of the reason why. So, again, I was debating on doing this video because I don't have any stories of meeting him personally, but I thought about how he inspired me, and I thought it would be kind of nice to share that, a little bit of a personal story, and hopefully anyone that listens to my audio can maybe tell me about like how Stan Lee has inspired them, like get a conversation going. So, as I mentioned before, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I have so much Spider-Man memorabilia and T-shirts, a couple of sweat jackets. I'm a Spider-Man fanboy, and as I mentioned, and I mean common knowledge, without Stan Lee, Spider-Man wouldn't exist. So, but there's more to it. Um, Stan Lee was a guy that was at one time ashamed to admit that he wrote comic books. And for a lot of us today, that seems like a really crazy idea to be ashamed to be a comic book writer, but it's true. When he started doing it, he was ashamed to admit it because it was viewed as like a kiddie thing, and wasn't mature, and there was it was a different time. But he kept going. And when I heard the story of how he got the idea to create the Fantastic Four, it blew me away that he almost quit. That he was at a breaking point, and he said, "I can't do this anymore." And I think everybody can relate to that. Especially me. I've had many moments where I've said, "I can't do this anymore. I give up. I quit." And I never gave up. Now, that wasn't all because of Stanley. I have a great family, and I have amazing friends, and that's the thing. Stan Lee was inspired by his wife, so he also had somebody to like kind of tell him to give him ideas. It's so I there have been times where I've been ashamed of being different from everybody else. As I mentioned, I was kind of an oddball. I was never a popular kid. I had a small group of friends. I was always different. Um, I have a pretty overactive imagination. I'm not going to go into detail about it. But I'm I'm a pretty creative guy. I love creating things. I love storytelling and creating characters and getting emotion out of people. So and that's a lot of what I get out of comic books and sports. I think that's why I like sports so much is the emotion. And the same goes for this. Stan Lee created an entire universe that has not only influenced me, but many artists and many writers and just many people in general. Another thing about the Fantastic Four that blew my mind that I didn't know, and actually I didn't even get to that point. I'm sorry, I flew off topic, but something I didn't know was that he he was 39 when he published that. I I'm 26 years old right now, and I've had many moments where I've thought like, is it too late? Am I too old at this point? But now I know that Stan Lee was 39 when he created the Fantastic Four, and from there on, he just kept going and created like an entire universe. So that just gave me more hope. I know you guys can't see me right now, but and I don't normally like to admit this, and I'm just gonna admit it for maybe to kind of brighten the mood a bit. But I'm actually really trying to fight back tears here. So yeah. Um, all right. So I think I'm gonna end the video there. I'm not gonna do the outro or anything of the sort. I want this to be about Stan entirely, and um, the questions I want to put to anyone listening out there is, um, have you ever met Stan Lee, and if so, what was it like? And or how has Stan Lee impacted your life or inspired you in any way? I really do want to know. All right, guys. I'm I'm gonna end it there. Rest in peace, Stan Lee.